Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Sword Art Online 2 episode review. This one's going to be for episode 6, Showdown in the Wilderness. I'll just straight away say before I get started into review, no review of the Avatar poster collection. I was unable to get it today. I'm going to try and get it tomorrow, and if not, I'm going to try another place on Friday. If not then I'll probably have to wait and order from Amazon. So I'll try my best to get to review that book in the next couple of days, but it could be like 2 weeks. Yes, this episode, really good episode. The pace really picks up in this episode. A lot of stuff is covered, and you also have a really important scene along with just a general advancement of the character interactions, relationships, and arcs going forward. So I really enjoyed this episode. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got the action because they cover a lot of rounds for the tournament, big confrontation between Kirito and SeenOn, and really big emotional moment at the end as well. But where we start off is obviously at the end of last episode, where Kirito has just been confronted by Death Gun, though he's not really thinking that it's Death Gun. He's just like, okay, players confronted me, and then he realizes that the player's from Laughing Coffin. And as we catch up to him here, he then kind of begins to put it together that this player is Death Gun. But primarily what we get is a flashback back to SAO, where we get a new event that we hadn't heard about from SAO in the Aincrad arc, and that is that at some point there was a big raid to capture all of the Laughing Coffin members. They found out where their base was, and they were going to basically stop them for good, so they would stop player killing. And they had most of the kind of frontline assault team there, and it ended up being a kind of like sneak attack from the Laughing Coffin, and just this crazy battle where 30 players died, they said. 10 players from the assault team and then 20 players from Laughing Coffin. And in the process, Kirito killed 2 Laughing Coffin members. That plus Kirito, and we kind of assume, was Kirito kind of responsible for Kaiba's death? Maybe, maybe not. But that he was responsible for the death of 3 players. And suddenly this really hits him, that this is a big deal. That he's investigating this player who is apparently killing people from within the virtual world, and it's affecting them in the real world. And now this has brought up memories of him actually killing players in SAO in a kind of similar way, but obviously different because of the way Kaiba set things up. But it's a really interesting thing to deal with because it's something you don't instantly think about in SAO because of, I suppose, the one time we do see Kirito kill someone, Kirito. It was more, immediate reaction, just seeing him and Asuna kind of protect each other and their relationship starting, and less, how is he going to deal with the fact that he just killed someone? Because perhaps we maybe came to believe that, like, maybe they kind of ended up killing a couple of players over the course of the game. But now they're heavily addressing this, that this is an arc for Kirito. And even though Kirito doesn't know SeenOn's story yet, we have her backstory, that this is something she's dealing with, except it's purely in the real world. She killed someone. And it links in a little bit to the ALO arc as well, in that Kirito could have killed Sugo in the real world at the very end of that arc, but chose not to, which I think is a big thing. And I would have liked it if, as we kind of get into this arc later on, they had shown a clip of that and shown that he kind of spared him as a big deal. But either way, it's showing that our 2 main characters have very similar arcs straight away before they make the connection between the 2 characters in person later on in this episode. But I just thought it was a very effective use of flashback to SAO, and that even though we've had the Aincrad arc, the ALO arc, that what happened in Aincrad is still the integral and really important kind of event of this universe, that if there's anything they're going to flash back to, it's going to be in SAO, and they're where the big things happen. It's always going to be the biggest and most profound incident in all of the lives of the SAO players, especially Kirito. So having this flashback explaining, I suppose, what happened to Laughing Coffin, why they weren't really like a threat towards the end of the game, was a pretty big deal, and I liked getting that. And from there, we see SeenOn come back after her first match, and before Kirito logs out because he's so upset, and no, he doesn't log out. Before he's teleported to his next match, he kind of just has this moment where he kind of wants to kind of confide in SeenOn, but doesn't have the time, and instead kind of just looks her in the eye and is kind of lost. And in this moment, she sees him as more than just this guy who lied to in her mind, lied to her about, that he was a guy, and has kind of been annoying her a little bit, primarily frustrating her. And she really begins to make this connection that, like, she sees the look in his eyes and kind of realizes that, is he like me? That something has happened here to him that I can relate to, because when I look in the mirror, I see my own eyes in that way. And that was a really nice moment. Like, they didn't go too heavy into showing it off, just like, she goes from being like, oh, hey, you finish your match pretty quickly, to kind of being like, oh, like, I know those eyes, basically. And they show the flashback to her looking in the mirror, so that was nice. And from there, the episode just kind of focuses on a few kind of highlights of basically the other matches before the finals of each of the blocks. And now we know the setup is that Kirito and SeenOn will meet in the final of F block, and we basically just get Kirito and SeenOn going through their matches. And the prime focus of this is Kirito's kind of almost suicidal kind of gameplay style here, defeating his opponents. He wins, but he takes a lot of damage in doing so, and has this kind of berserker, just desperate style of play. And you can tell that it wasn't the correct mindset for him to be in during these matches, in that in his mind he's just experienced basically one of the most desperate moments in SAO, where the whole assault team was attacked by surprise by Laughing Coffin, and it was fight to the death, be killed, or have to kill other people. And he kind of almost brings that mentality into these matches, and is so desperate to just get through to the final and do what he needs to do, that he kind of, I suppose, isn't playing in the way he would maybe usually play. But all of the players kind of note that, like, wow, this guy's crazy with what he's doing. And as SeenOn watches him play, she's kind of just thinking in her head, like, what is it with this guy that I shouldn't want to kind of think about him anymore, but is he like me? What is it about him that kind of is frustrating me and making me interested in him? And it's so interesting because you see then in her little flashback moment that she's put off a little bit by this, and she's so composed. She's the sniper in game. She's been able to, for the most part, disconnect her real life personality from the personality of SeenOn, and her big thing is that she feels that all of her strength is in game, and is desperately hoping that by just becoming better in game, that it will affect the things on the outside, which is they deal with her as a character. But right now she's so distracted as the sniper that she misses her first shot in this match, but thankfully she wins it with the next shot, destroying the guy in the car. Which leads into basically the final sequence of the episode, which is Kirito versus SeenOn. And there's some really interesting moments here, because the first one, of course, is just the fact that she does her usual thing to start off, gets into a sniper position, and is kind of assuming that Kirito is going to sneak up on her from the shadows, and she's only going to see him at like the last second. But no, she spots him straight away, walking straight towards her, no weapons out, and she basically goes to finish him off straight away, but she gets herself worked up because she realizes how strong he is. She's seen how agile he is. She's seen the way he plays, and kind of realizes that he has amazing skill at this game, and so she kind of has a respect for him as an amazing player. maybe doesn't think he's the absolute best, but can see he's really good, and someone that if she beats, it will show that she can beat a really powerful player, which has been her whole thing up to now. And so she takes this as this kind of level of disrespect from him, that, you know, like, does he think that he can just walk up to me with my amazing rifle and skills and just beat me this way? That he doesn't even have to draw his weapon. And she gets herself worked up, and that puts her aim off, and she constantly misses shot after shot after shot, and Kirito is doing nothing but walking towards her. And she eventually just gets really annoyed with him and just confronts him in the middle of the match, and we get the reveal that, as far as he's aware, he doesn't want to, like, fight someone who he considers somewhat of a friend. And, you know, the result of this match doesn't really matter because they're both going to get into the bullet of bullet tournament finals. And so he's just kind of like, no, I was just prepared to lose because it doesn't matter. And you can tell that he is usually a pretty competitive guy, but because of what's just gone on, that's the way he's thinking right now. That they show the flashbacks of him kind of saying that, you know, when we meet, we'll go at each other full force, and kind of realizes that just what's happened to him recently with the death gun confrontation has kind of changed his kind of thoughts on things. And she has a really emotional moment where she just kind of explains that you may just think this is a game, but to me, it's more than that. This match is important to show that it can beat people. And he kind of realizes in that moment that, no, me of all people, I should realize that it is important, that I was involved in the game where everything I did in the virtual world basically affected the real world. That I could have been killed in real life from inside of a game, and I'm investigating a thing where that is the key issue. And just with regards to that, his whole philosophy over the course of this series up to now has always been that who you are in the game reflects who you are in the real world. And so he then understands that, like, he was at fault here. He should have put up a fight. And so they basically have the 10-meter duel kind of situation. He's going to flick a bullet into the air, his sword versus her sniper rifle, and they're just going to go at it. And it's a really interesting fight because she now realizes, okay, she's going to be in a fight. She's going to see him go at her full force, but she severely doubts that he can do anything. 10 meters away, using a kind of up-close melee weapon in a sword, versus her sniper rifle, which now she's calmed down, she's not going to miss. It's going to be on target. And he doesn't stand a chance. And when it happens, he shows just how amazing he is, in that he doesn't, like, just dodge the bullet or anything like that. He does something even more, like, skilled than that. He slices her bullet in half. Like, we've seen before that what he can do is basically disintegrate the entire bullet into the beam, but he slashes so fast and in such a way that he actually just cuts the bullet in half right down the middle, and instantly closes the gap on her and has her at sword point, basically. And at that moment, she just kind of breaks down a bit because she realizes that this guy has kind of put her off completely. Like, she doesn't know how to feel. Like, he's amazingly skilled. She's questioning how he could possibly do something so crazy within this game. She feels like she can understand whatever it is that happened to him just before. And it's just this moment of kind of, what's the best way to describe it? It's just like, she just reverts kind of back into her kind of real world self, and she's just kind of like, how do I become as strong as you? And you can see that there's this desperation from her to become stronger, and she's seeing this person who, that skill isn't just something from a game. You have to have that in real life as well. There's like a duality there that she doesn't have, that in her mind they are separate, even though she wants the game to impact her real life stuff. And, you know, Kirito at this point in time is kind of like, no, you know, that's not the case. No, this isn't true strength. This is just a skill in the game, and he's kind of breaking down this for her. And it's it's at this point he doesn't explain the SAO incident to her, but basically asks her, you know, like, the thing with me is that I've been through this situation where this has happened, and asked her the question, you know, like, if you could shoot a gun and you know it would kill a player in the real world, would you do it? Could you make these decisions? And it's something he's dealt with, it's something he's dealing with right now with the death gun incident. And he doesn't know it, but she knows it, that she's done that in real life. And the words that he's saying to her are connecting heavily with her because she understands it completely. And she, at this moment, is just realizing how similar they are and how they're both dealing with something very similar. And it's this moment of just connection between the two, and it's showing you like the kind of duality of both of their arcs. Yet the difference in that Kirito's killed people in the game, SeenOn killed the robber in real life, but they're both dealing with the same issues and how they're similar but different. And I just really like this because it's going to be something they have to deal with together. Like they both basically get over this issue of, you know, like how they feel about the people they've killed together in different ways again. And you know, the result of it obviously is that Kirito won the duel. He doesn't take her out, he just asks her to resign, which she does, and is just like, I will beat you next time. And she's very confident about that. But there's this connection between the two that wasn't there before, that this episode just did a really good job at showing. Anything else to add? Just that it definitely is one of my favourite scenes from the entire Phantom Bullet arc. Just that moment where basically he has her at sword point, and the two just have that moment of connection where he asks her the question about, you know, if you could, if this was the case, would you be able to do it? That is kind of showing like true strength and stuff like that. So I really like this episode. A lot was covered. Like we basically have the preliminary tournament done, and we're immediately we're going to be straight into the bullet tournaments effectively next week. Again, it's been a while since I've seen this arc in full, so I don't know if we immediately go straight into the bullet or if there's something before it starts. But either way, that's the next big thing to happen, just the start of the final round. But that has been the review. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on the episode and the review. Thanks for watching, and bye.